Hey, wide awake family. If you're not part of the family yet and love creepy stories, then hit that subscribe button and join us. Tap the bell icon so you'll never miss a story. It really helps out the channel. If you've already done all that, then smash that like button to lock it in, and please tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I would love to interact with you legends. Now to the story.
So this happened a couple months back, and it still messes with my head if I think about it too much. I've been on dating apps like most people, not really expecting anything deep, but still kind of hoping someone would surprise me. And I thought maybe this guy, this Nathan, was going to be one of those rare good ones. We'd been talking for like 2 weeks. He messaged first, which I liked, and he wasn't pushy or weirdly intense. Just normal. Funny sometimes. Sent a few pics that didn't look like they were taken in 2014, which was a win. I remember thinking it was actually nice how smooth our convo flowed. It felt like we had that effortless type of banter that didn't need constant small talk. He'd bring up weird little references from things I said days ago, which made me think he was actually paying attention. Eventually, we set a time to meet. He suggested this casual raw men place on the edge of town. It wasn't bougie or anything, but I liked that better. No weird pressure. I got there first and waited inside. The place had this yellow lighting that made everyone look like they were under a heat lamp, but I was too busy scrolling through my phone to care. Then I saw him walk in. He looked just like the pics, maybe a little taller. Good posture, clean shoes, not overdressed. First impression, decent. I waved him over and we hugged kind of awkwardly before sitting down. At first, everything was fine. A bit of small talk, ordering food, that whole thing. Then it got weird. While I was talking, I noticed he kept glancing down at his phone. Not like once or twice, but way more than normal. It wasn't texting speed either. He'd just kind of peek at it, then say something back to me, almost like he was checking a list before answering. The thing is, what he said was never off. It all made sense in context, but it was almost too perfect, too rehearsed. I'd mention something like my favorite album, and he'd react like he already knew, like he anticipated I'd say that. It started to feel less like a date and more like I was part of some weird game he was playing on his phone. Midway through dinner, I leaned in and joked about him being glued to his screen. That's when I caught a glimpse of it. Just for a second. He'd been holding the phone at this angle away from me, but when he turned slightly, I saw a block of text. Not a messaging app. It was like a document or a notes app. And the part I saw was word for word something I'd said to him 2 nights ago in a voice note. Word for word. It was like he had our old chats open, but the font didn't look like a regular chat log. It was big, spaced out, almost like bullet points. I didn't say anything then. I just kind of went still. And for the rest of the dinner, I barely said a word. I let him talk. I watched his hands. I tried to see if he was scrolling before each reply. And yeah, he was. Every time. By the time we were done outside, I made an excuse about needing to catch a train. He offered to walk me, but I shut that down real quick. Said I had to call someone on the way and needed to be alone. He didn't fight it, just nodded like he understood. That made it even creepier. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the phone thing, about how fake everything suddenly felt. So I did something I never usually do. I dug deep into our original convo in the app. I went through every message trying to spot patterns or weird shifts in tone. I screenshotted stuff. I even recorded myself reading the messages aloud, just to hear how it sounded out loud, like a script. Then I remembered something. A few months back, I'd matched with another guy, Josh. We only spoke for a couple of days before he ghosted, but our convo was weirdly similar, like really similar. I even sent him a long paragraph once about how I hated being misquoted in arguments. I was sure I'd only ever said that to him. I re-downloaded our chat history. It was still there. I compared both convos side by side. Every message from me in the Josh chat was now being echoed back to me by this Nathan guy line by line, but from his side. It was like he'd literally taken our old messages and used them as blueprints for how to talk to me. Things I'd said to Josh were now things Nathan was saying to me. Sometimes he reworded them, sometimes not. I sat there in the dark just going back and forth between screenshots like I was solving some kind of puzzle. It wasn't just copying. It was crafted. Like he'd gone through and picked out the perfect parts that work on me before and just rewired them. The next day, I made a burner account and messaged Josh again, pretending to be someone else. I asked him straight up if he'd ever sold convos or anything weird. He never replied. But here's the twist. A week later, I saw Nathan on another app. New name, different pics. But I recognized him instantly. Same smile, same black hoodie from the raw men date. So I made a fake profile and matched, just to see. He opened with the same icebreaker Josh had used months ago. I matched instantly and deleted everything. I've been off dating apps since, not out of fear or anything, but because I started to feel like even the things I thought were real, my own words, my thoughts, the stuff that made me think he was interesting, weren't actually mine anymore. He'd taken them, repackaged them, thrown them back at me like I wouldn't notice. And that's the part that gets me. It wasn't a bad date. It was a stolen one. I started noticing it on a random Tuesday night. I was half watching some football on mute, scrolling through profiles while eating crisps out the bag like some dating app raccoon. It was just meant to be a time killer. I wasn't looking for anything major, but I liked matching. Felt validating. Like a weird little game where someone else agrees you're not completely tragic. Anyway, I matched with this girl called Zoe. Blonde, nose ring, sunflower tattoo on her wrist in one of the pics. Bio said she loved road trips, hated mushrooms, and had a dog named Cola. We started talking. She was quick with replies, used lowercase for everything, had that dry kind of sarcasm that clicked with me. Her playlists were fire too. She sent me this indie band I'd never heard of that instantly ended up on repeat. She suddenly unmatched 2 days later. No warning. Just gone. I figured whatever. Maybe she re-downloaded it drunk or got back with her ex or just didn't like my voice note. It's not that deep. Couple days later, I matched with someone else. Name was Leah. Brown hair this time. Glasses, but the vibe. Weirdly familiar. She said she worked in digital marketing. Zoe did too. Her dog was named Coco instead of Colette in her favorite movie. Same answer Zoe gave me word for word. Uncut gems, but only the last 10 minutes. That's when I paused a bit. I opened our chat side by side, and yeah, not identical, but close. Like remix versions of the same conversation. Some parts were copy-pasted, just slightly different punctuation. She asked me the same questions in the same order, too. What's your go-to meal when you're lazy? Then, are you more of a winter or summer person? Followed by, do you still talk to your ex? I started screenshotting stuff, just to compare. The more I matched, the weirder it got. Talia, Eden, Bryn, Madi. Every girl I matched with after that had something, recycled. Same typing style, same interests. All had dogs with soda names. All had the same Spotify link in their bio at some point. One even told me the same story about sneaking into a zoo when she was 16 and getting chased by a flamingo. It was almost funny. Until it wasn't. Because it didn't stop. It wasn't like I matched with 5 people and that was it. I was matching with someone new every couple of days, and somehow every one of them had this thing I'd seen before. A joke, a sentence, a weird phrase. It was like this one girl was hitting shuffle on her own personality and sending out again in her new names. I tried testing it. Started asking super specific questions, like what their dream last meal would be. I got French fries dipped in vanilla milkshake 4 times. I asked their thoughts on pineapple on pizza. All of them said, I wouldn't order it, but I wouldn't fight you for it. Word for word, I swear. It felt like I was talking to a glitch. One night, I stayed up and made a spreadsheet. I'm not proud of that, but I had to know. I wrote down names, dog names, phrases, profile pics, bios, timestamps, and cities. Most of them were within the same 10-mile range. Different photos, but I started noticing repeats in the background. Same kitchen tiles, same wooden wardrobe behind the mirror selfies, same tan bedsheet in at least 4 of them. I did a reverse image search on a couple of their pics. 2 came back as stock photos. Another was pulled off an old lifestyle blog from 2016. I reported one of the profiles and unmatched the rest. But it kept going. New name, new hairstyle, same blueprint. I even matched with one that used a different profile layout, this time on Hinge. I swear to you, she still had the flamingo story. And she ended one of her prompts with life's too short to fold your fitted sheets, which Zoe said weeks back. That's when I properly lost it. I messaged her, but instead of being slick, I straight up said something like, hey, didn't you say this already? She unmatched before even replying. Here's where it gets even more off. One of the girls, Jenna, accidentally sent me a voice note instead of a picture. I listened to it. It was 8 seconds of silence. But in the background, you could faintly hear some sort of talking like a YouTube video on low volume. I boosted the audio. It was someone explaining how he used chat scripts for customer support bots. Word for word. I Googled part of what she had messaged me earlier that day and found the exact same paragraph on a Reddit thread from 2 years ago about personality baiting for better dating profiles. That's when I properly checked out. I deleted the apps. All of them. Didn't even pause them. I full-on wiped my accounts. But every few weeks I'd get emails from new apps I'd never signed up for. Your match is waiting. Luna liked your profile. Kara sent you a rose. I never opened them. Didn't click anything. But the names felt familiar, and the layout. Still the same beige room in the background. Still dogs named Cola or Coco or Pepsi or something fizzy. I've started thinking maybe it wasn't even a person. Maybe it was some weird profile farm or fake AI thing or some bored person running an experiment. But the photos were real enough. Voices too. It was just everything else that felt hollow. Like someone built a character out of spare parts and just kept throwing it back into the feed with a wig and a new dog. And the worst part is it worked. I was into her, whoever she was. Or I kept swiping because she was exactly what I wanted every time. Repackaged, slightly edited, but familiar enough to draw me back in. Now I just don't trust my phone, or dating, or profiles, or even my own memory of what happened. Because it's all blurred now. I don't even know which version of her I liked the most. I just know they were all her.
Hey guys, really sorry to interrupt. If you're still listening, then you're enjoying the story so far. And if you are enjoying, then please hit that like button. That's all I ask of you. Thanks so much. Now back to the stories.
It started out super normal. I wasn't even that excited, to be honest. I'd matched with this guy called Jay, and he just seemed regular. Not cringy, not overly smooth, just fine. His pictures were decent. One of him holding a fish, but I let it slide. I wasn't trying to meet the one or anything. I just wanted to get out the house. I've been stuck inside for too long, scrolling past the same faces over and over, so when Jay asked if I wanted to grab a drink, I said yeah. We met at this weirdly loud bar near Shortage. The music was trying to be chill, but it was giving strong Thursday night headache vibes. I spotted him straight away. He was sitting at the back, black hoodie, baseball cap, pin already half finished in front of him. We said hi to the quick, awkward hug thing and sat down. He wasn't as tall as I thought he'd be, but whatever. I'd already committed to one drink. The conversation wasn't bad, bit slow to start, but that happens. He kept asking questions and nodding along in that way where it felt like maybe he wasn't really listening, just waiting for his turn to talk. But I ignored that because I'm used to it at this point. Then something weird happened. While I was telling him about my job, nothing deep, just normal stuff, this guy walked past our table real slow. He didn't even glance at me, just looked straight at Jay and gave him this quick nod. Jay didn't react much, but he did a little twitchy eyebrow thing, then took a sip from his drink like nothing happened. I didn't say anything. Maybe they knew each other. 10 minutes later, it happened again. Different guy. Tall, beard, leather jacket. He leaned on the bar a couple meters away and just watched us, like directly at our table. Again, Jay didn't acknowledge it, but I could feel him clock it. This time I asked if he knew the guy. He said, real casually, nah, and looked around like he was confused too. But I didn't buy it. He knew something. His energy changed after that. More fidgety. Kept checking his phone under the table like he was waiting for something. Another guy walked by maybe 15 minutes later. Third one. Curly hair, denim jacket, weird chain. Sat at the booth across from us for literally 3 minutes, looked directly at us the whole time, then got up and left. No drink. Just sat, stared, bounced. At that point, I was on edge. My gut was telling me something was off, but I didn't know what yet. I pretended to go to the bathroom, and from the mirror I could see Jay unlock his phone. He was swiping through something. Not messages, not Instagram. It looked like the dating app. I came back, sat down, didn't say anything. Just waited. He started talking faster, asking about my travel plans, my Spotify, my ideal lazy Sunday, all these random things like he was trying to check boxes. Then I caught him staring just past my shoulder again, I looked back. The weird guy was back. That's when I said something like, seriously, who are these people? Jay just sort of looked at me, and it was this awkward pause like he was deciding whether to lie or not. Then he sighed and said, okay, I'll tell you. And I wish he hadn't. Basically, he and his friends, 3 of them, share one dating profile. They all made it together, picked the best photos for each of them, wrote a bio that wasn't too specific, and then they rotate who gets to use it. Jay was the face this week, but apparently the guy who was chatting with me wasn't even Jay. It was the guy with the beard, the one who kept staring at us from the bar. He was the one who matched with me, who did the texting, who sent me the voice note saying I sounded chill and down to earth. But since Jay was next up in the rotation, he was the one who about to take me out. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't a joke. It was this creepy little system they made up. They called it the schedule. Each guy would get full access to the profile for a week. All the matches, combos, voice notes, whatever. And whoever connected with someone, too bad, next guy in line gets the actual date. Apparently they liked seeing how girls reacted to the difference. Like I was a test or something. A little trial run for who could fake it the best. I asked him why the others were watching us. He said they were just curious. No one said anything to me. No one approached. They just sat there, each taking their turn to lurk, like they were silently grading him. I told him I was done. He didn't argue, didn't try to explain further, just nodded like he expected it. Walking out, I passed by the beer guy. He was still at the bar, half smiling like he already knew how the night would end. I didn't say a word to him either. Outside, I looked over my shoulder. Jay was gone. None of them followed me, but it felt gross, like I'd been picked up and passed around without even knowing it. They'd built this weird shared identity, all wearing the same digital mask, just switching out the person underneath. And I never would have known unless I spotted the pattern. I deleted the app that night, not because I was scared, but because I realized I never knew who I was actually talking to. And maybe I never had. It was one of those chill Friday nights where you don't feel like staying in, but don't really want to go all out either. So when Liam asked if I wanted to grab dinner after work, I said yeah. We'd been talking for about a week. Nothing too deep, just memes and random stories. His vibe was low effort, but not in a rude way. He just seemed easygoing, not dramatic, which was refreshing after some of the people I'd been talking to lately. We met at this noodle bar that was halfway between both our areas. He looked like his pictures. Taller than I thought, beard trimmed, wore a gray jumper that looked fresh out of a Zara rack. The conversation was steady. He asked about my Spotify playlists, we joked about our worst takeaways, and he didn't bring up weird topics or talk about crypto, so I was already giving him mental points for that. After dinner, we walked around a bit. It was cold but not freezing. He offered his place for a drink, said he had some wine, and we could chill for a bit before I called my Uber. It didn't feel sketchy. He wasn't pushy, just casual. So I said yeah. His apartment was like 10 minutes away, down a quiet road. The building was decent. Old red bricks, buzzer system that looked like it had been there since the 90s. When we walked in, everything still felt fine. He led me up the stairs, not a lift in sight, and opened a navy blue door on the 3rd floor. The first thing I noticed was how warm it was inside, like extra warm. Almost too warm, like someone had been in there all day with the heating on blast. I took my coat off and followed him in, and that's when it started feeling a bit weird. Not like jump scare weird, more like a bunch of small things weren't matching up. For starters, the apartment didn't look like a single guy lived there. It looked settled. There were framed photos on the hallway wall, a couple with 2 little kids at the beach, a black and white wedding photo, a school portrait of a girl who couldn't be older than 7. None of them had Liam in them. I didn't say anything at first. I figured maybe it was a shared flat or family-owned. But then we got to the living room and it got weirder. There were those stiff-looking couches with throw pillows that matched, like someone designed the space instead of just chucking together random IKEA finds. There was a ceramic bowl of fake fruit on the coffee table, a big one, like something your mom puts out when guests are over. There was a cream-colored rug, spotless, not a crumb in sight. I was trying not to stare, but every detail screamed, not your place. He poured 2 glasses of wine and handed me one, then sat across from me on the opposite chair. not beside me, across. Almost like he didn't want me to see his phone or something. He kept the conversation light, but I'd noticed his eyes drift to the front door more than once. I took a sip of wine and casually glanced around again. On the bookshelf were more photos. One of a teenage boy holding a trophy. Another a family barbecue. Still no Liam. Then I saw the fridge through the open kitchen, covered in magnets. Family trip ones, Scotland, Spain, Cornwall. A world's best mum magnet shaped like a heart. This wasn't a bachelor pad. I excused myself to use the bathroom, which was down a small hallway. On the way there, I passed a bedroom door that was open just a crack. Inside, I could see a pink blanket with cartoon animals on it, toys on a shelf, a bunk bed. That's when my stomach dropped a bit. I walked into the bathroom, locked the door, and just stood there for a second. It wasn't fear, it was more like this heavy feeling of what the hell is going on. The bathroom smelled like lavender soap. There were women's products lined up on the sink, 2 different razors, a pink toothbrush, a floral bottle of micellar water. I opened the cabinet above the toilet. I know that's a weird move, but I had to be sure. Inside were medications with someone else's name. Emma Barlow, not even close to Liam. I went back out and sat down, trying to act normal. I asked him who else lived there, just testing the waters. He shrugged and said something vague like, "It's a long story." That's when it clicked. He didn't live there. This wasn't his home. He saw me looking at the pictures again, and he let out this little laugh and said something like, "Yeah, you probably noticed." Then he told me the truth, or at least part of it. He said the apartment belonged to a friend, and that he was house-sitting while they were away. He said he liked to use it because it was closer to town and more comfortable. But the way he said it didn't sit right. He didn't sound casual anymore. He sounded rehearsed. I didn't say much after that. I told him I had an early morning and needed to head out. He walked me downstairs, didn't push back, just said he had a good time. I got my Uber and didn't look back. Later that night, I went back to the app and checked his profile. Still there, still smiling in front of that same gray wall with fairy lights. I reverse searched his pictures. Nothing came up. Then I looked up the name from the prescription bottle, Emma Barlow. She came up straight away. Facebook profile, mom of 2. Married, lives in the same building. Her photos match the ones on the fridge. The same beach trip. The same pink bunk bed in the background of one post. She even had a public birthday post from the day before. She'd been home all week. I reported him. Blocked the account. Deleted the app again. But the part that keeps creeping me out is the thought that this wasn't some random lie to impress me. He was too calm. Too comfortable, like he'd done this before. And I don't think that was his friend's place. I don't even think his name was Liam. I wasn't even trying to meet anyone when I matched with him. It was one of those nights where everything felt off, and I just wanted someone to talk to that wasn't my roommate or my cat. I remember swiping with a half-eaten tub of hummus in my lap, barely paying attention. Then I saw his profile. Jack. Regular guy. Kind of goofy face, but in a sweet way. His bio said something about being emotionally available and actually decent at cooking, which made me laugh. We started chatting, and he seemed cool. Not boring. He didn't ask anything weird, didn't overshare. Just normal. We talked for about a week before meeting up. First date was easy. Pub garden, a couple drinks, walked me home. Second date was Thai food. Third date, we stayed in and watched old movies. He brought snacks. Nothing ever felt forced or fake. He never made it about anything more than just hanging out. I wasn't obsessed with him or anything, but I liked being around him. And after a few awful dating situations before, I figured I could finally let my guard down a bit. Meanwhile, my roommate Ellie had been acting weird. Not aggressive weird, more like she was overly helpful all of a sudden. Asking if I wanted coffee every morning, doing my dishes before I got to them, offering to buy groceries. She even stopped complaining about my laundry taking too long in the machine. I just thought maybe she was trying to be better, or maybe she was crushing on someone new and happy. I didn't dig too deep. Jack and I started seeing each other more regularly, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. He always suggested new stuff. Bowling. Food markets, lawn walks. One time we went to an open mic night and just sat in the back making dumb comments the whole time. He made it easy to forget about everything else going on in my life. One night, I was charging my phone at his place, and we were both on the couch watching something. He got up to go to the kitchen, left his phone behind, face up on the armrest. I wasn't trying to snoop. I wasn't. But I saw the screen light up. A notification popped up from a payment app. £75 from Ellie. Thanks again. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Ellie is now a rare name. It didn't have to be my Ellie. But my stomach dropped in this slow, weird way. I stared at it. The message below the payment said, "Same time tomorrow." I didn't move, just waited for him to come back. When he did, I said nothing. I watched him pick up the phone, glance at the screen, and quickly swipe it away like he didn't want me to see. That confirmed it. I started putting things together in my head, fast. Ellie had been super chill about me being out of the flat all the time. She even encouraged it. Jack had always been available whenever I had a free moment. And I realized something else. He never invited me to his place until she messaged me first. He'd always ask right after I mentioned being home. I told him I had to go home early because I had a call. He didn't argue. I got into an Uber and felt sick the whole way back. When I got home, the flat felt weirdly quiet. The hallway was empty. Her shoes were gone. The coat she always hung on the door hook. Gone too. I went into the kitchen. Half the mugs were missing. The fruit bowl was empty, which sounds dumb, but she always kept lemons in it even though she never used them. Then I checked her room. The door was wide open. Empty. Bed stripped. Drawers open. Her prints were off the walls. The mirror she brought from her old flat was gone. Even a little cactus on her windowsill wasn't there. She had cleared out. Fully moved. I stood there for what felt like 5 whole minutes before I remembered to breathe. I called her, straight to voicemail. Then I texted. No response. I refreshed Instagram. She blocked me. Same on Snapchat. Her WhatsApp profile picture was gone. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, why would she go that length? Why not just tell me she was moving out? We weren't enemies. We had dumb disagreements, yeah, but we lived together for over a year. We had matching wine glasses and inside jokes and shared Netflix passwords. I messaged Jack. He didn't respond. Next morning, I checked his profile on the dating app. Gone. Just completely gone like he never existed. I looked up the payment app, made a burner account, and searched for the username that sent the money. It matched her phone number. It was her. No doubt. She paid him multiple times. Different amounts. Some labeled Thex, some labeled Thursday. One said, "She's still clueless, lol." I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to call the police because technically nothing illegal happened. I wasn't robbed. I wasn't hurt. But I felt used in a way I couldn't explain. I eventually tracked down her TikTok using an old tag she once used. Private. Bio said new chapter. I never heard from either of them again. But every now and then I think about how perfectly timed everything was. How I never once got suspicious. How easy it was to be distracted by someone when they're doing just enough to make it feel real. I still don't know if Jack ever actually liked me or if he was just in it for the money. Or maybe he thought it was funny. Maybe they both did. I don't know. All I know is Ellie didn't pack up while I was at work. She waited. She planned it. She hired someone to keep me busy like it was a task on a to-do list. And she paid him to do it. Costing sucks. Not because of pride or whatever, but because of that weird silence. That gap where you sit there wondering what you did wrong. What message you sent that maybe came off too dry. If you double texted too fast. If you said something dumb and didn't realize it. So yeah, when Jenna ghosted me, it hit harder than I expected. We weren't talking for that long, like 3 weeks maybe. But it felt like it was going somewhere. We matched on Bumble, and from the jump, she wasn't like the usual matches. Her messages weren't forced, her replies weren't dry, and she had this dry humor that hit at the exact right time. She called herself emotionally allergic to small talk, which was funny at first. She said she liked sad movies, walking around supermarkets late at night, and people who text in lowercase. I don't know why, but it all stuck with me. We met up 3 times. First was just drinks. Second was a cinema date. Third time we grabbed food at this late-night burger spot and just sat outside talking about the dumbest things. She told me she thought mushrooms looked like apartment buildings for insects, and then went on this random theory about how water tastes different depending on your mood. It didn't even matter if it made sense. I liked how she said it. then nothing. I sent a message 2 days later. No reply. Waited another couple, still nothing. I tried not to overthink it. People get busy. Things come up. Maybe she got bored. But something felt weird. Not like she was ignoring me. More like she was just gone. Her profile disappeared. WhatsApp still showed her picture, but my messages stayed on one tick. I checked Instagram. She'd unfollowed me. Snapchat vanished. It felt less like a slow fade and more like someone hit a switch. I tried to move on. Swiped here and there, talked to new people. But I kept thinking about Jenna. I'd scroll through old messages and think, it doesn't add up. It was like someone turned her off like a lamp. Then one night, I was at this house party. One of those ones where you only know the host and maybe one other person. I was outside of the beer, talking to some guy about dating apps, and I randomly mentioned Jenna. I said her name, described her a bit, not even thinking anything of it. He paused and asked me to show him a photo. I pulled up an old screenshot from our convo. She once sent me a picture of her holding a churro in front of a petting zoo sign. Dumb but cute. I showed it to him and he nodded. Then he asked me if I heard of something called the Fade Club. I thought he was joking at first, but he pulled out his phone, opened a private browser tab, typed in a weird-looking URL that ended in something random like pro or live, and handed it to me. It was some low-budget-looking website. No logo, just white text on a black screen. Need to disappear from someone's life. We can help. There were no ads, no links, no tabs. Just a contact form, a pricing table, and a blurry photo when looking away from the camera. It wasn't clear. I swear it looked like Jenna. Even had the same sunflower tattoo on her wrist. I zoomed in, couldn't tell for sure. The guy said it was some anonymous breakup service. People paid them to help end situationships, flings, even relationships, without actually doing the breakup themselves. They handled the exit. No confrontation, no tears, no follow-up texts. You pay, they vanish. And Jenna, apparently, was one of their exit people. She'd get matched with someone, build something just enough to get them attached, then disappear completely on cue. Sometimes after a week, sometimes after a few months. However long the client needed. I didn't believe it at first. Sounded like a dumb internet rumor. But the more I searched, the more tiny pieces started fitting. There were Reddit posts, a few buried deep with barely any upvotes, where people mentioned girls who vanish right when things got good. One post even had a photo of a message thread with the same exact phrase Jenna once used on me. You're easy to talk to, even when I don't feel like talking. Same phrasing, same timestamp gaps, same last message, nothing. I found an old Twitter thread with someone saying, has anyone else dated someone who turned out to work for that breakup company? Nobody replied. I went back to our convo and noticed something. Jenna never talked much about herself. Nothing traceable. No last name. No hometown. No photos that give away her location. Even when I asked about her job, she said something vague like freelance admin and changed the topic. That night, I messaged the site through their form. I made up a fake scenario, said I wanted to disappear from someone's life and needed help. I got a reply the next day. No name. Just a message. We offer 3-week and 6-week exits. All services are handled through our verified exiters. Payment up front. I asked to see a sample profile of someone who'd be used. It sent back a profile picture. Grainy, but it was her. Jenna, same freckles, same hoodie from the cinema night. That was the last straw. I never replied again. Didn't pay. Didn't follow up. Just sat with it. The idea that I wasn't ghosted because I did something wrong. Or because she got bored. I was part of a job. A transaction. Someone out there wanted to vanish, and she used me as the exit plan. She walked into my life, made it feel like something, and then dipped the second she got paid to. Like I was the warm-up act before the real show started somewhere else. I still wonder if she ever felt anything at all. But the scariest part is I know she's probably doing it to someone else right now. Looking back, I probably should have thought it was weird sooner. Not the part where he took photos. Everyone does that. But the way he did it. The first time I met Lucas, he took a selfie of us before our drinks even arrived. We were sitting in this busy rooftop bar, and he leaned over with his phone and said he liked capturing the vibe. I laughed and went along with it. Thought it was just a Gen Z thing. After that, every time we met up, he'd pull out his phone at some point and take a selfie. Not a casual one. Not one of those messy, blurry snaps you post on your story with a silly emoji. These were always clean, well-lit, perfectly framed. He made sure we both looked decent before he snapped it. Once, he even made me fix my hair. I remember saying something like, "Are you building a scrapbook or something?" And he just smiled and said he liked documenting his life. Still didn't feel that deep. I thought maybe he was just one of those sentimental types. Bit cringe, but harmless. He was nice otherwise. Chill. A bit quiet, but in a thoughtful way. He always let me pick where we ate. Laughed at my dumb jokes. Talked about his dog a lot. He said he worked in content moderation for some app I'd never heard of. Claimed it was mostly boring stuff. Filtering flagged posts, removing scam ads, stuff like that. We went on 6 dates. That might not sound like a lot, but in dating app time, that's basically a mini relationship. And after each one, like clockwork, I'd get a new selfie in my DMs. Huge night, he'd say. Or, this one's going in the album. I didn't really think much of it. Then he just stopped replying. I messaged him 2 days after our last date. Nothing dramatic, just a meme, and a "you alive," left on scene. I waited, tried again a week later. He didn't open it. I figured he ghosted. Whatever. It sucked, but it's not exactly rare. It was maybe 3 weeks after that when things got weird. My friend Jade texted me a screenshot out of nowhere. Said, "Isn't this the guy you were seeing?" It was from some sketchy-looking website. Not quite a forum, not a blog either. Looked like a private group, the kind you have to know the exact URL to find. The header was just plain black text. Gallery. No branding, no links, just a scrolling feed of photos. And there he was. Lucas. Same smile, same jawline, same hoodie you wore on our 3rd date. Beside him, me. In the exact selfie he took outside that raw men place in Soho. The caption underneath said, "Trophy number 31, English lit girl, loved her eyeliner, had garlic breath." I swear I felt my face go hot, like my ears were ringing. I scrolled. There were more. Dozens of them. All selfies, all with different girls, different restaurants, different seasons, some in summer dresses, some in coats and scarves. Each one had a number, a short caption, and the word trophy. Some were worse than mine. Trophy number 17. Talked too much but had nice teeth. Trophy number 22. Thought it was gonna fall for her. Close one. Trophy number 6, she cried. Didn't expect that. I counted. There were 47 total, and each caption was personal enough that it had to be real. The whole site looked like it was built just for him, like a digital album only he used. No comments, no usernames, just this never-ending scroll of girls he'd dated arranged in order like some sick dating timeline. There was one photo that looked like it was taken inside a hospital waiting room. The girl in it had a tired smile and a cast on her wrist. He captioned it. Trophy number 35. Sympathy date. Worth it. I couldn't believe it. I showed it to Jade, and we started digging. Reverse image searched a few of the selfies. None showed up anywhere else. No one had posted them publicly. They weren't on social media. That made it worse. He wasn't doing it for clout. He wasn't flexing to a group chat or trying to go viral. He was doing this in secret, like collecting people. I found his LinkedIn. He didn't work in content moderation. The company didn't exist. I even tried messaging him again. Just asked, "What is this?" No reply, but said he'd read it. Then I got blocked. Not just on Instagram, on everything. WhatsApp, Snapchat, even Venmo, which I only used once to split a drink. Gone. A couple nights later, I refreshed the site again. My photo was still there, but the caption had changed. Now it said, "Trophy number 31, tried to snoop. Blocked." That's when I realized he was still watching, still updating. I tried to report the site, but it wasn't hosted on anything normal. No report button. No domain register I recognized. It's like it lived in this weird little pocket of the internet no one touched. I wanted to tell someone. Go to the police, maybe. But what would I say? He didn't threaten me. Didn't post anything illegal. Just selfies. Ones I posed for. but the way he arranged them, like we were items in some private collection, made my skin crawl. I haven't used a dating app since. Sometimes I wonder if the girls before me ever found it, or the ones after me, if he's still doing it. I don't even know how many more trophies there are now. And honestly, I don't want to find out. The date was fine. That's the weirdest part about it. If it had been awkward or boring or intense, maybe I'd have clocked something was off. But it wasn't. It was just fine. Safe. Almost too safe. I'd met her on Hinge. Her name was Mia, and she had one of those profiles that was just the right mix of casual and put together. A mix of candids and a mirror selfie. Her prompts were clever, nothing cringy. She had a photo of her holding an espresso martini, which I remember because I made a dumb comment about it and she actually laughed. She messaged me first, which I liked. We talked for about 5 days before she suggested meeting up. She picked the spot, a small Italian place not too far from the city center. I offered to book, but she already had a time in mind. Thursday, 7 p.m. When I showed up, she was already there, sitting near the window in this cream-colored sweater, hair tied back in a low bun. She smiled when she saw me. Big but not too babe, like she was trying to hit a certain expression. I know that sounds dumb, but it felt weird even then. We ordered quickly. She asked for a glass of red and spaghetti arrabbiata. I got the same. She made a joke about how it's the messiest pasta to order on a first date, but it's worth it. I laughed because she delivered it in a way that felt like it was supposed to be funny. It worked. I didn't question it. Most of the conversation felt like a highlight reel. She hit all the expected topics. Favorite childhood snack, bad unit roommates, weirdest job she ever had, kids party entertainer. She even did this voice she used for her clown character and acted out a tiny bit of her routine. I remember thinking, damn, she's got stories. She had a joke ready for every subject. Even her pauses felt placed like little rests in a song. I walked her to the bus stop afterwards. She said she had an early shift the next morning. Gave me a quick hug, said it was nice and surprisingly normal, and told me she'd text me later. She didn't. I waited 2 days, then messaged her just to chill, hey, hope your shift wasn't too brutal type thing. No reply. Waited a couple more. Still nothing. I figured maybe it didn't click for her the way it did for me. Happens. A week later, I was at this small party, birthday thing for my friend Ryan's girlfriend. We're out on the back patio and I hear someone say, yeah, man, I've matched with this girl, Mia, too. I froze a little, listened closer. The guy talking had this smug tone. Said she took him to this tiny Italian spot near Central and ordered spaghetti arrabbiata. He laughed, said she made a joke about how it was the messiest thing you could order on a first date, but so worth it. Then he said she used to be a clown at kids' parties and even acted it out at the table. My stomach just sank. I walked over and asked to see her profile. He pulled it up. Same face, same pics, same espresso martini, different name, Anna. I showed him my profile and said, she ghosted me last week. He laughed like it was funny, but I didn't feel like laughing. That night, I went home and opened a second account. Different email, brand new number. Put a fake name, used one of those generic model selfies from Pinterest, just to test it. Within a few days, she matched with a fake me. Same intro, same banter, same exact jokes. I asked her if she wanted to grab a drink. She said, actually, I love this little pasta place in town. Want to meet there? I said yes. Then I didn't show up. Instead, I waited across the street. I watched her walk in, sit at the window again. Cream sweater, hair tied the same way. She waited 20 minutes, then ordered a glass of red and the arrabbiata, alone. I went back through our messages, reading like a script. Noticed how every one of her replies had the same beat. Same jokes, same rhythm, like she was running the same lines over and over. I started digging. Found a Reddit post from 3 months back. Some guy in a different city describing a date with a girl named Mia. Same pasta, same jokes. Another thread from a guy saying he went on a date with a girl who acted out a clown routine at dinner and then coasted him. He even typed the so worth it spaghetti joke word for word. There were others. Different names. Same sweater. One guy said she even had a photo on her phone she showed him. Some kid in a birthday hat getting sprayed with silly string. Another guy said she carried a little notebook but never opened it, like a prop. No one knew who she really was or why she did it. Some people guessed she was collecting stories for a book. Others thought it was a social experiment. One guy said he was pretty sure she had a YouTube channel where she reenacted all her dates with herself in both roles. I couldn't find a channel. If it existed, it was hidden deep. I messaged her again from my real account. She didn't open it. I didn't match with her again either. I saw her profile one more time a month later, but the name was different again. Soph. Same photos, same answers. I reported the account, but it never got taken down. The creepiest part, it wasn't that she ghosted. It wasn't that she recycled dates like a playlist. It was that she did it exactly the same every time. Same location, same words, same outfit, same fake laugh after the spaghetti joke. Like it was a role she was stuck in. Like we weren't people, just part of her script. And I still don't know what she wanted from any of us. It was the frosted apple squares that made me notice. Not the way he said it, not even the fact he brought it up, just how casually it slipped out. We were on our second date, walking through this random Sunday market where everything smelled like old books and incense, and he pointed to a cereal box on one of the vintage stalls and went, "You used to be obsessed with those as a kid, didn't you?" Frosted apple squares. That was my cereal. The one they discontinued when I was 9. The one I used to cry over because no other cereal hit the same. I only ever brought it up when I was half asleep or joking with my sister. I never tweeted it, never posted about it, never talked about it in a dating profile. I laughed it off, just nodded and said, "Yeah, I guess." But inside, I was already trying to remember if I had mentioned it on the first date. I hadn't. We talked about school, bad Tinder stories, and what we'd do if we won the lottery. Nothing about childhood snacks. I figured maybe he guessed. Lucky guess. Weird coincidence. But it didn't stop there. Over the next week, it got worse. Subtle things at first. He mentioned my old primary school teacher by name, Mrs. Rayner. He said it like she was famous or something, like it was normal to just know that. And I know I never said that name out loud in front of him. I hadn't even thought about her in years. She was my 3rd grade teacher. Strict, always wore cardigans with ducks on them. The next thing was a dog. We were watching a movie at his place, and there was this golden retriever on screen. Out of nowhere, he said, "You had one like that growing up, right? Your grandma's dog, Tilly." Tilly. That dog died before I even hit secondary school. I'd only been around her for maybe 2 summers before she got old and slow. She wasn't in any of my pictures. No one online would know that name. Not unless they were in my family or stalked someone deep enough to find a photo album that didn't exist. By that point, I couldn't brush it off anymore. He kept saying things like he'd picked it up in conversation, or that I must have told him before. But I hadn't. I know I hadn't. I even started testing it. I'd bring up something random and false, like saying I grew up with a bearded dragon named Marshmallow. He didn't react. Just smiled like he already knew the truth. The way he looked at me started to change too. Not in a creepy way at first, but in this weirdly knowing way. Like he was always waiting for me to say something he already had stored. I started getting paranoid about what else he knew. I even made a list on my phone, stuff I knew I told him, and stuff I knew I didn't. Then came the worst part. We were lying on his bed one night, scrolling through videos on his laptop. He opened a folder by accident. It popped up when he hit the wrong key. It was named with a number, not a word, but curiosity got me. When he left to grab water, I opened it. Inside were documents, scanned pages, notes. One was a medical intake form. I scrolled down. There were vaccine logs, dentist notes, even that one time I got a marble stuck in my ear when I was 6. It was my file, from when I was a kid. Every page had stuff I hadn't seen in over a decade. I even recognized the handwriting. Dr. Owens, my pediatrician. His name was in the top corner of every sheet. I backed out of the folder, heart racing. Checked the file info. It was created last month, a week before we matched. I waited for him to come back. I didn't say anything. Just watched him scroll like nothing happened. The next day, I did some digging. Turns out his mom worked at Sandal Family Care, front desk, had been there for over 20 years, probably scanned hundreds of documents just like mine. It made sense now. He'd seen my full name from the app, probably asked her about me. Or maybe she mentioned it first. I was one of her patients once, after all. A cute story. Oh, look who came in, remember her. But he didn't just glance at my file. He studied it. He remembered names, detailed, random notes that weren't meant for anyone else. Things even I forgot. He stored them in his head like fun facts. And then he drip-fed them to me on our dates like some magic trick. The cereal, the teacher, the dog. He didn't know me, he read me. I never confronted him. I just said I was busy the next few days and slowly stopped replying. He didn't push back, just sent a sad face emoji once and left it alone. A few weeks later, his profile was gone. I still think about it sometimes. How easy it was for him to access my childhood like that. How normal he made it all seem. How harmless it felt until it didn't. I told my mom. She called the clinic. Apparently, his mom quit the same week I stopped talking to him. There's no proof he ever did anything illegal. No paper trail. No threat. Just access. A quiet invasion that felt like love on the surface. Now, whenever someone brings up their favorite cereal or their childhood pet, I smile politely. And I never say the name. I thought the weirdest part was her bringing a laptop bag on a date. That was before everything else kicked off. Her name was Haley. We matched on Bumble. She had those types of photos that were hot in a kind of professional way. Perfect makeup, city skyline in the background, cute outfits that didn't try too hard. Her bio said she liked wine bars over loud clubs and wanted someone who didn't take himself too seriously. She messaged me first. Said I had good teeth, which is maybe a weird compliment, but I rolled with it. We agreed to meet at this bar in Central. Classy, but not over the top. Mood lighting, overpriced cocktails, fake plants hanging from the ceiling. She picked it. When I showed up, she was already there. Sitting at the back in a booth, laptop bag at her feet, glass of white wine half full. She smiled like she'd been expecting me for ages. Stood to hug me and then sat back down fast like she didn't want to waste time. She looked exactly like her photos, maybe even better. Things felt normal. She was flirty in a kind of controlled way, complimented my jacket, asked if I'd ever done stand-up comedy because I had that face. I laughed, maybe too much. I remember feeling like I was doing pretty well. The conversation flowed. Her voice was soft, but direct. And her attention never left me. Not once. Except her devices kept going off. First, it was her smartwatch. A tiny buzz, then a flash of a red Tinder icon before she tapped the screen and it disappeared. I didn't say anything. I figured, okay, maybe an old match. Maybe she forgot to turn notifications off. Then it was her phone, lying face up next to her drink. It lit up every few minutes. Different apps. Bumble, Hinge, WhatsApp. Even something I didn't recognize, some kind of purple icon I'd never seen before. Each time she glanced at it quick, then locked the screen. At some point, she knocked her laptop bag slightly, and the zipper came undone a bit. I caught a glimpse of the screen inside. It was on. Dimmed, but still glowing. Notifications sliding down one after the other like a casino slot machine. All dating apps. Messages popping up so fast I couldn't even read them before they vanished. It was like watching 3 different versions of her all operating at once. Still, she never broke her rhythm. Kept eye contact. Kept laughing. Told me about a holiday she took to Portugal where she got lost in a vineyard. Said she liked the way I talked. Reached across the table once and touched my wrist when I told her a story. I felt suited for thinking anything was off. Maybe she was just popular. Maybe she didn't care about hiding it. Then something happened that snapped it all wide open. I went to the bar to get us another round. She asked for a top-up of the same white wine. While I was standing there, I looked around the room, kind of just scanning, noticing things. There were 2 other guys sitting alone. One at the far left corner, one about 2 booths away from where we were. Both of them were dressed kind of like me. Collared shirts, jeans that looked too clean, nervous energy. One was checking his phone constantly. The other looked like he was waiting for someone. I watched as Haley stood up from our booth. She adjusted her hair, glanced in a compact mirror, then casually walked over to the guy 2 booths away. I watched her sit down like she hadn't just been sitting with me 5 minutes ago. No hug this time, but she smiled at him exactly the same way. Leaned in, touched his wrist, started laughing. I stood there at the bar, drinking my hand, not moving. A few minutes passed. Then she stood up again, walked straight past me without looking, sat down with another guy that one in the far corner. Same greeting, same glass of wine, same goddamn laugh. I walked back toward our booth. My jacket was still on the seat, her laptop bag still under the table. Her phone lit up again. This time I picked it up. She had one of those folders like people do when they wanted to hide stuff. It was labeled Notes. Inside, every dating app you could think of, including one I'd never heard of called Matchlink. The icons were rearranged to blend in like a trap. I opened Hinge, dozens of chats, most with little red hearts next to them, all active, all recent. I tapped on one and froze. They were all here, scheduled like appointments. I backed out and opened another app, some kind of dashboard thing I didn't recognize. It had graphs, response rates, payment links, actual money transfers from guys with notes like for drinks, Uber home, and hope to see you again. It wasn't just juggling matches. It was organized, structured like a job. She wasn't dating, she was farming. Running multiple conversations, booking overlapping dates in the same bar, cycling through each guy like stations on a train route. Each one thinking they had her attention. Each one thinking they were the one who made her laugh. And she wasn't slipping up. I took my stuff and walked out, left the drinks. Didn't say anything. Didn't try to confront her. She probably would have smiled and switched to the next guy without blinking. The next day, her profile was gone. But I knew it wasn't deleted, just rotated. Different photos, different name, different schedule. I still go to that bar sometimes. Not to drink, just to watch. And I swear, every now and then I see a girl in a booth with a laptop bag under the table. It didn't feel like ghosting. Not at first. We only went on 2 dates and they were fine. Not amazing, not awful. He wasn't a sweep you off your feet guy. More like the type you politely explain to your friends later as nice, just not my thing. We talked about random stuff. Hometown restaurants, dumb Spotify playlists, underrated horror movies. He was polite, a little funny, just a little too intense. The kind of guy who stares a second too long after you stop talking. Not creepy exactly, just heavy. His name was Owen. He said he worked in tech, back into architecture. I remember asking him what that actually involved, and he gave me this long-winded explanation with acronyms that might as well have been in another language. He smiled the whole time, clearly enjoying my confusion. The second date ended with an awkward side hug. I sent him a polite thanks again. The next morning, he replied with a paragraph. I didn't answer. And that was that. Or at least I thought so. A week later, I was on Spotify, scrolling, half distracted. That's when I saw it, a playlist in my Made For You section. Rainy horror moods. I clicked. It was full of eerie ambient scores and obscure horror soundtracks. Exactly the ones he mentioned at the bar, the ones he claimed nobody ever talks about. I chalked it up to coincidence. Maybe I'd searched one of them before. Maybe Spotify just got weirder with its algorithms. Then Instagram got weird too. I opened the app and the first story ad said, "Try Dave's in Brixton, best chili fries in town." That was the place he ranted about for 5 minutes on our first date. How their chili fries cured hangovers better than water. I'd never been there, never looked it up, never typed Brixton into Instagram. Later that night, scrolling Deliveroo, guess what popped up first on popular near you? Dave's chili fries. Not even near me. Near him. By then I was uneasy, but I still didn't think stalker. I thought glitch. Until TikTok. I opened it one night, and the first video was someone ranking horror soundtracks. The same 3 films Owen had praised. In the comments, someone had written, "This reminds me of Owen's top picks law." I froze. The name, the timing. Then Twitter piled on. My suggested follows. 3 indie horror directors he listed off like a shopping list. One had fewer than 1,000 followers. There was no reason for Twitter to connect us. It was like someone was following me from the inside. I muted his name across every app. Blocked what I could, moved on. But it escalated. One afternoon, I checked my Google Calendar. A notification popped up. "Don't forget, Tuesday, Midsummer screening. I hadn't said that, but he had asked me weeks earlier if I wanted to see it. I'd bailed. Now it was logged under my account. I checked my connected apps, nothing strange. No shared devices. Out of a morbid curiosity, I reopened the dating app where we first matched. His profile was gone. Not unmatched. Erased. I contacted support, just to check. They replied, "That profile does not exist in our system." Like he was never there. A week later, my friend Maya called. She thought she matched with a guy who looked exactly like that tech dude you went out with. Sent me a screenshot. Different name. Same face. Same bio, word for word. I made a burner account, swiped until I found him. Matched. Asked what he did for work. His reply, "I work back end at Ripple." Ripple. The name of the dating app itself. That's when it clicked. He wasn't just stalking me. He was inside. That's how he disappeared so cleanly. That's why support said his profile never existed. He deleted himself from their system. And more than that, he was tampering with everything else. Spotify, Instagram, food delivery, TikTok. All those creepy coincidences weren't random. He was feeding things into the algorithm, planting breadcrumbs, creating presents without needing to text me. I decided to test it. I told Maya to chat with him on the app, drop a fake reference. She casually mentioned her favorite horror movie, Through the Cellar, a film I made up on the spot. Didn't exist. 3 days later, I opened YouTube. Right at the top of my recommendations, short film, Through the Cellar, creepy allegory of isolation. Uploaded 2 days earlier, tagged perfectly to reach me. He faked a whole film, just to prove he could. That was when panic set. I deleted the dating app, factory reset my phone, made a new Google account, canceled Spotify, signed out of everything. For a while, it worked. Silence. No weird ads, no fake playlists, no phantom calendar invites. I started breathing again. And last week, I downloaded a new grocery app. Fresh account, fresh device. I was scrolling through suggested items when I saw it. Fever tree tonic water. Pairs well with mezcal. Trust me. That exact sentence, word for word, our first date, when he ordered mezcal and lectured me about how tonic water is underrated. He didn't need my number, didn't need my socials, didn't even need the app we met on. Because Om isn't chasing me. He's haunting me. Not outside, not in the real world. But in the pipes, the systems, the invisible web tying every app together. Every time I log on, every time I'd open anything connected, he can whisper. He doesn't need to follow, doesn't need to message. He just waits. And sooner or later, he shows up. You ever have that feeling where someone remembers your life better than you do? Like they're finishing stories you didn't even start. That's what it was like with her. Her name was Marley. Dark eyes, straight brown hair, and this calm, unreadable kind of face that made you feel like you were being studied. Not judged, just observed, like she was waiting for a result in an experiment. We matched on Hinge. She was funny in messages, dry humor, no cliches, no "hey you" or fake deep quotes. Just quick one-liners about soup rankings and a picture of her dressed as a cow at some Halloween party. She seemed normal. Quieter than most, maybe, but normal. Our first date was coffee. Easy, low stakes. She didn't talk much, but when she did, her words landed like stones dropped in water, ripples that lingered. We went for drinks the second time at a little bar in Shoreditch. I did most of the talking, which I was fine with. She asked questions but rarely offered anything about herself. Just tilted her head slightly, listening, eyes never leaving mine. That's when things got strange. We were swapping hometown stories, and I mentioned I grew up in Hastings. Nothing thrilling, small coastal town, seagulls the size of toddlers. I joked about how they'd dive bomb tourists for chips. As I said it, she smiled, not because it was funny, but like she already knew the punchline. Then she said, "You mean the ones that always hovered near Pelham Beach, where that little corner shop used to sell those awful chicken bakes?" I froze. That chalk shut down when I was maybe 10. I hadn't thought about it in years. I asked if she'd been to Hastings. She just nodded, sipped her drink. No explanation. Later, she mentioned the aquarium. "They opened it in 2008, right?" she asked casually. "Yeah," I said. You've been. No, she said. But you have. You were in the paper for winning that drawing contest. You drew a jellyfish with a mustache. My stomach dropped. She was right. I had won some kids' art contest back then. Mum still had the clipping somewhere. But I hadn't thought about it in over a decade, and I'd forgotten the jellyfish even had a mustache until she said it. She leaned back, satisfied, like she'd solved the puzzle. I made a weak joke about her being psychic. She smiled politely, like I just handed her a convenient excuse. But it didn't sit right. On the walk back to the station, she kept dropping low bombs. She needed my primary school, Maplewood Academy. I never told her. Not on my profile, not on LinkedIn. Then she said, "You used to get dropped off by your nan, right? The one with the short white hair and the red coat. You always had cereal bars in your bag because she didn't trust the school meals." I stopped walking. She didn't. She just kept talking like it was normal. That wasn't something anyone could Google. That was something I'd mentioned once years ago to an ex, something I barely remembered myself. By the time we reached the station, I felt hollow, like I was standing beside someone who had stolen my childhood photo albums and memorized every caption. She hugged me goodbye, said she'd like to do it again. I nodded, but everything in me screamed no. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my desk, phone in hand, checking every social I had. My Instagram was locked down. Twitter too. Facebook had a fake birthday. No location tags, no old school names, nothing. Even my Tumblr was long deleted. So how? I thought about the drawing contest. Maybe the paper had archives. I Googled Hastings art competition jellyfish mustache. Nothing. Added the year, my name, still nothing. Then I searched her name, Marley plus Hastings. Third result, an old newsletter from a local summer art camp. Dated 2009. My chest tightened. She was listed as a volunteer. There was a photo. A younger Marley, but unmistakably her, standing behind a cluster of kids hunched over sketchpads. And in the middle, me, holding a marker, drawing a jellyfish. She was looking straight down at my paper. That's when it clicked. She didn't remember from me. She remembered me. She'd seen me back then. She cataloged it all. The cereal bars, the coat, the aquarium contest. She wasn't studying my life from afar. She was revisiting it, like a person rereading a favorite book. And I hadn't seen her face in more than 10 years. But she'd seen mine. I blocked her the next morning. Deleted the app. Changed profile pictures, usernames, scrubbed what I could. But the image wouldn't leave me, her calm, blank expression as I told that stupid seagull story. The way she smiled, not surprised, not entertained. Like she was just waiting for me to catch up. To say the line she already knew by heart. I was already halfway sure I wasn't going to see him again by the time we paid the bill. Not because he did anything awful, just the vibe was off. Like something behind the smile didn't match what he was saying. He was charming, yeah, polite, almost too polite. He asked all the right questions, gave all the right responses, even laughed in the right places, but it felt like he was running on a script. Like he'd studied a list of things women want to hear on dates and was determined to tick every box. His name was Nathan. Tall, sharp haircut, well-dressed. He talked like the kind of guy who fell asleep listening to self-help audiobooks and woke up ready to quote them. We met on Bumble. He messaged first. Our chat was normal. He was consistent, never pushy, never sloppy. Suggested dinner instead of wanna hang, which I appreciated. Low bar, but these days that counts as impressive. I picked a restaurant myself. Small, familiar, busy, but not overwhelming. The kind of place you can exit quickly if you need to. My friends tease me about how picky I am with locations, but I've had enough weird dates to know better. Dinner was fine. Not bad, not great. He kept circling back to habits, momentum, discipline, like he was pitching me on a lifestyle brand. He told me I had good composure, which struck me as an odd compliment. Who says that? It felt clinical, like he was observing me in a lab. Still, I smiled, nodded, did the polite laugh, mentally decided I wouldn't see him again. When we stepped outside, I pulled out my phone to order an Uber. That's when he said he'd walk me home. I shook my head. No, don't worry, I'll grab a ride. But he smiled, tight, practiced. It's better if someone walks you. It's late. Safer this way. I hesitated. He wasn't wrong, technically, but something in me stiffened. Still, I didn't want to make it a thing. I laughed awkwardly and said, okay, sure. We started walking. I kept things casual, commenting on random storefronts, street art, the night air. He went quiet for a while, like his brain was running calculations. Then the questions started again. Not the normal ones. Not movies or books, or dogs or cats. He asked if I usually walked home alone, if I always went to that restaurant, if I'd been in this neighborhood long. His tone was light, but the content was sharp, probing. I shrugged them off with vague answers, but inside, alarms were buzzing. A couple blocks later, I slowed and said something about my building having a doorman. I didn't mean much by it, just dropped it in the conversation like a breadcrumb. My version of, someone's waiting for me. That's when it shifted. He stopped walking. I turned. His face had gone slack. No smile, no charm. Just blank. And he asked, why didn't you mention that before? That you had a doorman. That you live in one of those places. His tone wasn't curious. It was sharp, like an accusation. I forced a laugh. Oh, I thought I did. Total lie. I never tell dates about the doorman. Too much information for someone I barely know. He didn't respond, just started walking again. But slower this time, and not beside me. Behind me. 2 steps back. I felt my phone buzzing in my pocket, probably a friend checking in. But I didn't look. My eyes were forward, locked down the street. My building was 3 minutes away. I could see the corner. I said firmer this time, I'm good from here. He didn't answer, didn't stop. At the corner, I crossed against the light just to create space. Cars honked. My pulse hammered. He crossed too. Nathan, I said louder now, I'm serious. I'm fine. He stopped then, just stood there on the opposite curb, his eyes on me, expression flat. Then he called out, not loud, but sharp. Do you think you're better than me? Is that it? You bring me out here just to flex where you live. You think that's funny? His voice cut through the air like glass. My chest went cold. I didn't answer. I turned and walked faster, straight toward my building. The gold numbers above the awning glinted under the streetlight, my lifeline. I waved at the doorman through the glass. He saw me, hurried to open the door. His face flicked with recognition. He must have seen something in mine. I stepped inside fast, like I'd lived there forever. The second the door shut behind me, I turned. Nathan was across the street, standing still, staring at the building, not moving. No goodbye, no wave, just blank. I told the doorman I'd forgotten my key and was waiting for a friend. He nodded, went back to the desk. I stayed by the glass, watching. Nathan didn't move for what felt like hours. Then finally, he turned and walked off. Slow, no glance back. I waited another 20 minutes before leaving. That night, I checked my phone. No text from him. No unmatched notification. Nothing. I blocked him anyway. Deleted the app. I lay awake replaying it all. The questions. The tone. That moment his face went blank when I mentioned the doorman. Because that was the giveaway. That was when the performance cracked. He wasn't trying to make sure I got home safe. He wasn't trying to walk me to my door. He just hadn't planned on stopping at it. I didn't notice it straight away. The first 10 minutes felt like any normal date. Nothing intense. We met at this cozy little cafe off the main street. She was already there, sitting by the window with a book next to her untouched coffee. Her name was April. She looked exactly like her profile, which was already a rare win. We did that awkward high moment and sat down. She smiled a lot. Not in a flirty way, just this soft, wide smile like she was always processing something just under the surface. Her voice was calm, steady, and a little too smooth. Things were chill at first. She asked where I grew up. I told her about my small town just outside Reading. Not much to it, corner shop, 2 bus stops, the same 4 people you see everywhere. She nodded like she related, then said she was from a village like that too. Same setup. 2 shops. Everyone knew each other. Even mentioned having the same kind of weird green phone box near her road. That's when something flicked in the back of my brain. I told her I studied computer science at uni, wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, but now I worked freelance with databases. She tilted her head and said, "That's crazy, I did the same. Except I lean more toward data privacy stuff." Then I mentioned my brother. She said she had a younger brother too. Same age gap. Then I mentioned my old dog. She had a beagle growing up. Mine was a beagle too. You'd think it'd feel like a perfect match. That we had so much in common. But it didn't feel like that. It felt rehearsed. I don't know how else to put it. It wasn't what she said. It was how close it always almost matched. Slight differences, but always right after me. Like I'd say something, and she'd just twist it a bit and throw it back. Same shape, different color. So I tested it. I told her I used to sneak downstairs as a kid to play Mario Kart on mute while my parents slept. I made that up. I never had a Nintendo. She grinned and said she used to do that too, but with her brother, and they had to hide the controllers under the sofa cushions. I asked what music she liked growing up. She said indie stuff, some bands I recognized. I nodded and said I had a weird phase where I only listened to Icelandic folk music. I said that as a joke. She leaned in and said she had an obsession with it during her weird years. I sat back in my chair. It was like she was chasing me through my own memories. The conversation kept going, but I stopped sharing real stuff. I gave her fake stories, dumb lies, just to see if she'd followed. She did, every time. By the end of the night, I felt drained, like I just talked to a mirror that didn't quite reflect back right. She thanked me for the night, said I was easy to talk to. I mumbled something and walked away. I figured maybe she was just trying too hard. Some people do that. They mirror others to connect. I was ready to move on. But then 2 weeks later, my friend Leon messaged me a link. "Isn't this you?" It was a Medium blog post. Title: "The Guy Who Lived Twice." I opened it. First paragraph started like this. He grew up in a nowhere town outside Reading. 2 bus stops, same faces every day. Had a beagle named Cooper and a brother who stole his cereal. My chest tightened. It was my life. Not word for word, but close. All the same pieces. Slightly rearranged, stylized. The tone was poetic, dramatic even. But it was me. The story wasn't mean or mocking. It was weirdly sweet. But it wasn't hers to tell. I searched her profile. She had dozens of posts, all titled like character sketches. The one who was always cold. The man with broken hands. He thought he was a puzzle. I read through them. Every one of them was some guy she dated. I recognized tiny references. Places I knew. Names that were slightly tweaked. Details too specific to be coincidence. She was using dates as source material. Copy-pasting real people into her fiction and changing just enough to get away with it. Each story mirrored someone, just like she mirrored me. I checked her socials, nothing public. But her Medium page was full of followers. People commenting things like, "This feels so real," and "You always write such layered men." I wanted to message her, ask what that was, ask why. But I didn't. She hadn't written anything bad about me. Just used me, like a character sketch, like I was a template. A week later, she posted a new one. He tells lies to protect himself. That one was full of the fake stories I gave her. The Mario Kart, the Icelandic folk, the mute late-night TV. She wrote them like they were his real truth, like she had peeled back the mask and found the real version underneath. It made my skin crawl, because now I wasn't even sure which parts were mine anymore, which memories were hers, which stories were even real. I logged off, deleted the app, told Leon not to send me any more links. And for a while, I thought it was over. Until last month. I went on a new date. New girl, different vibe. We met for drinks and hit it off. I asked about her hobbies. She said she was really into writing. Short stories, mostly. Character stuff. I smiled politely. Then she said, "You remind me of something I read once. About a guy who played Mario Kart on mute while his parents slept." It started as one of those dates where nothing feels weird until later. Like, while it's happening, you're thinking, this is fine. And then it gets stuck in your head for hours after. And the more you replay it, the more it starts to fall apart. Her name was Leela. Blonde bob, vintage jacket, super dry humor. We met on a new dating app I'd never heard of before called Parody. I only downloaded it because Hinge had started giving me the same 3 girls on rotation, and I figured I'd try something new. Parody had some dumb slogan like compatibility is a science, and made you answer a bunch of questions about smell preferences, and whether you'd rather time travel or live forever. I didn't take it seriously. But I matched with Leela pretty quickly. She messaged first, which I liked, and the chat was decent. She was into weird niche films, had a pet snake, and made jokes about her coffee addiction like every other girl on these apps. But somehow it didn't feel forced. We set a first date for the weekend, a park hangout, safe, low pressure. The first date went fine. She was exactly like she messaged, casual, chatty, funny in a way that made you feel like you were auditioning to be in her inner circle. We sat on a bench and shared this packet of crisps she brought from some international store that she swore were life-changing. They were all right. We talked for a few hours, then both had to leave. Second date was a week later. Coffee this time. Different vibe, indoors, less space to move. That's when things started to feel off. I don't even remember what we were talking about, just that she brought up a guy named Tommy. She said he was a firefighter who painted in his spare time and was obsessed with mochi. She said she almost dated him, but unmatched because he had a weird laugh. I went cold. Because I had matched with a Tamsin, a girl who was supposedly a firefighter, painted in her free time, and asked if I liked mochi 3 times in a row. Different name, same profile basically. I laughed it off at first, said it was probably just a coincidence. She gave me a look that said she wasn't buying that. So I asked what app she was using. She said Parody. That's when we started comparing names. People. Descriptions. All of it. She mentioned a guy who loved Japanese jazz, and I finished the sentence with, but didn't believe in microwaves. That exact guy messaged me under the name Nina. Same Spotify link, same photos of a record player, same anti-microwave rant. Over the next half hour, we realized we had matched with almost all the same people, just slightly remixed. My Sarah was her Sam. Her Jules was my Julia. We even had the same copy-pasted opening messages sent to us, worded slightly differently. Same gifts, same memes, different names, different genders, same personalities. It was like we'd been chatting with the same 7 people on shuffle mode. She pulled out her phone and opened the app. I did the same. Her messages were full of profiles I recognized, same faces just renamed. One guy even had the same dog picture that one of my matches used, but mirrored. Then she asked something I hadn't considered. What if we're part of something? We opened the settings together, scrolled down. Buried in the terms and conditions, like really buried, was a section titled Loop Testing Participation Agreement. It said something about simulated interpersonal ecosystems and adaptive identity layering for romantic behavior research. The more we read, the worse it got. Apparently, Parody was running what they called compatibility loops. Basically, they were testing how users responded to personality types by feeding them the same people over and over under different names and genders. Same interests, same conversational flow, different presentation. They were measuring how much a connection relied on actual personality versus delivery. So all those people we matched with, they weren't real, or they were real but duplicated, cloned. Bits of data reshaped into multiple shells. Worse, it said real users could be paired together for testing, like us. We weren't sure if we were part of a loop or just watching it, but the language made it seem like every interaction we had since joining the app had been filtered, altered, monitored. It explained so much, the weird similarities, the almost connections, the deja vu. And it didn't stop there. Leela opened her app history, pulled up a profile she remembered matching with on another app a year ago. Different name, same photos, same intro, same snake. We found my old Twitter account from 2017, one I hadn't used in forever. Turns out Parody scraped my bios from there. One of the girls I matched with literally quoted something I tweeted 5 years ago. We sat there in silence for a bit, not even sure if we were real to each other at that point. Then she showed me something. She'd screen recorded our entire first conversation on the app. The chat, the match, everything. When we hit match, it showed a weird loading icon for a split second. Then a message popped up at the top corner of her screen. Live loop initiated. Subject pairing. Variant X32/variant Y18. My stomach turned. They didn't just match us. They selected us. Maybe because we were both showing signs of catching up. Or maybe we were both test subjects from the start. Either way, this wasn't a coincidence. It was curated. I deleted the app that night, reset my phone, even wiped my socials just to be safe. She did the same. We haven't talked since. But sometimes I still get the urge to open another app, to swipe again. And every time I do, I pause. Because what if I'm just getting sent the same people over and over under different names? And what if none of them were real? Not even her. The date wasn't even bad. That's what messed with me most afterward. We met on an app I'd used on and off for years. Nothing sketchy, just regular swiping in between meals or when I couldn't sleep. Her name was Iris. Wavy hair, bookish vibe, a little sarcastic but chill. Her profile had one photo of her holding a film camera and another of her pretending to scream next to a wax figure. I figured she had a decent sense of humor, and she messaged first with some random reference to a movie I'd forgotten I even liked. We met at a tapas place she picked, kind of hipster spot. Exposed brick, paper menus, candles on every table like it was always almost someone's birthday. She showed up 5 minutes late, wearing a green hoodie with a long brown coat over it. She smiled when she saw me, big, confident, like she'd already decided it was gonna be a good night. Things started out fine, easy banter. She told me about her work in creative direction, which didn't really explain anything. And I mentioned I did back-end dev work for a retail site. She didn't seem bored, which was a win. We talked music, random childhood injuries, and which snacks were secretly elite. She ordered anchovies like it was a personality trait, and I pretended to be cool with that. Halfway through the meal, right after she asked if I like horror films, everything went sideways. A guy burst through the door, slammed it behind him, walked straight toward our table like he was in some low-budget movie. His voice cut through the restaurant like a knife. How could you? You said it was over. Heads turned. Silverware stopped clinking. Some guy at the back actually dropped his drink. I looked up at him, confused. He was red in the face, breathing heavy, eyes locked on Iris like he'd been rehearsing this meltdown for weeks. I looked at her. Her face didn't match the situation. No fear, no guilt, just calm. She glanced at me, then back at him and said, "Not here." Very soft, very serious. He didn't stop. Who is this? Is this the guy? You moved on that fast. I tried to say something, but I had no idea what. My brain was trying to connect dots that didn't exist yet. People were watching. A waiter hovered near the kitchen entrance like he was about to step in. Then Iris stood up, touched the guy's arm, and led him outside. She turned to me before going and said, "I'll be right back. I'm sorry." She didn't look embarrassed. That was the weirdest part. No shame. Just professional, almost. I sat there for 10 full minutes with half a sardine croquette in my mouth, replaying everything. Was this an actual ex? Were they fighting outside? Was she gonna come back? I didn't know if I should pay the bill or just leave. Then she came back in, brushing off her coat like nothing had happened. Sat down, smiled. I asked if everything was okay. She nodded, said something vague like, "It's handled," and went back to sipping her wine like we were still in the middle of a conversation about horror films. No further explanation, no apology. Like the whole restaurant hadn't just watched a public emotional explosion 2 feet away from our table. We finished the date. She walked me halfway down the block, hugged me goodbye. And that was it. I went home that night thinking I had just been caught in some tragic romantic drama. I was halfway convinced he'd text me somehow, or worse, show up again. But then something happened. A few days later, I was out with friends at a different place, some burger joint across town. My friend Janie was telling us about a wild date she'd been on. She said the guy was nice, dinner was cool, until halfway through, his ex-girlfriend stormed in yelling and crying. We all laughed nervously. She said it got so bad the restaurant manager had to ask the ex to leave. I asked her what the ex looked like. She described her. It was Iris. Same green hoodie, same long coat, same face. Jamie had gone on a date with a different guy. Iris had been the one storming in. I told her about what happened on my date. That's when it clicked. She was playing both roles. Sometimes the one at the table. Sometimes the one causing the scene. I spent the rest of that night digging, searching her name, her photo, anything. I found a Reddit thread buried in one of those weird dating advice subreddits where someone mentioned a girl who ran reaction experiments on people she dated. Someone who hired actors or played the part herself to create emotional stress on purpose to see how people react under pressure. The more I searched, the more pieces fell into place. Apparently, Iris, or whatever her real name was part of some underground creative project where she gathered authentic emotional data for writing, like a social version of method acting, but for dating. One comedian said she would test loyalty, fear, confusion, and empathy responses by putting her dates through scenarios. The ex bursting into dinner. Scripted. She wanted to see how I handle it, whether I'd protect her, judge her, leave. I wasn't on a date. I was part of a live experiment. I messaged her. Just one sentence. Was it a test? She replied 5 minutes later. You did better than most. Then unmatched. No apology. No denial. Just confirmation. I deleted the app that night. I still think about that guy who burst in. I don't know if he was a friend, a hired actor, or maybe even a real ex who didn't know he was part of the show. Either way, none of it was real. Except my reaction. That part was hers to keep. The weirdest part is I didn't notice it was weird until later. Like it wasn't one huge red flag. Just small stuff. Questions that seemed curious at first, then oddly specific, then way too detailed to be casual. Her name was Mina. We matched on Hinge. Her first message was about my cat, which made sense since I had him in my profile pic. She said she liked that he had one ear folded down and asked if he was a rescue. I told her yeah if he got into a fight before the shelter found him. She asked if he had any lasting damage. I said he was fine, just looked a little lopsided. She said that made him more unique. I thought it was cute. I didn't clock that as the first sign. The first two conversations were normal, sort of. She didn't talk much about herself, but people on dating apps can be like that. What stood out was how quickly she turned the topic back to me, and specifically to my body. Not in a flirty way, though, just technical. She'd ask things like, have you ever broken a bone? I thought it was a joke. I told her I fractured my wrist once in year 8 trying to skateboard. She asked which bone exactly. What hospital? How long it took to heal. If there was still a bump. If I could feel the difference when I touched it. It felt like a lot, but I didn't really think much of it. Some people are just medically curious. Maybe she was studying to be a nurse or something. I asked, and she said she just liked hearing about the human body. Fair enough, I thought. Then she wanted to know about my scars. I've had a few from childhood, nothing major. A bike accident, a burn on my hand from touching the oven door too fast. She asked if I had photos. I said no. She said, that's a shame. Like she was actually disappointed. We met up in person at a bar near the station. She was prettier than her photos. Big eyes, short black hair, wore this gray turtleneck like she was trying to blend in. We talked over drinks, and she barely touched hers. She didn't ask what I did for work. Didn't ask what music I liked. Instead, she asked if I had asthma, if I'd ever been put under for surgery, if I remembered my last fever. She asked if I ever woke up dizzy, if I got nosebleeds. I laughed and asked if she was doing some health survey or something. She said no, just curious. Always has been. It was how she connected to people. She asked about my stomach, if I'd ever had food poisoning, if I'd ever gone to hospital for it, if I'd ever passed out. She said she loved hearing people describe pain, how they'd explain it. Like, was it sharp? Dull? Did it spread? She said people always remembered pain more vividly than joy, that it was more honest. She said it so calmly, like she was reciting a fact from a textbook. At that point, I was done drinking. I was starting to get creeped out, but she wasn't doing anything outwardly alarming. She wasn't touching me, wasn't acting aggressive. She was just asking. Gently, politely, with a weird glint in her eye every time I gave her a new answer. I said I had to head out. She didn't argue, just smiled and said she'd hoped I'd message her again. I wasn't planning to. But the next day she messaged, and it was a voice note. I played it. She thanked me for being open with her, said she'd been thinking about the wrist fracture and how she could almost feel the crack when I talked about it. Said she could imagine the heat from the burn on my hand, and she wondered if it ever still flared up in the winter. She ended the voice note with, "I hope you tell me more soon. I want to know every inch of you." Not in a romantic way, more like she was cataloging me. I blocked her. Didn't reply, didn't say anything. But a week later, I got an Instagram follow request from a name I didn't recognize. The profile had no posts, just a black profile picture. I ignored it. 2 hours later, I got a DM. "Does the wrist still hurt?" I blocked again. The next night, someone emailed me. No subject, no message body, just an attachment. It was a Google Doc titled Case 041 JM. I clicked it. It was a running list. Descriptions. Everything I told her. Left wrist fracture. Skateboarding year 8. 6-week recovery. Right hand. Oven burn, mild scarring. Potential sensitivity in cold months. Occasional dizziness standing up too fast. Possibly mild anemia. No known allergies. No asthma. No diabetes. No childhood surgery. There were sections with bold titles like potential weaknesses and injury memory quality. She'd written about me like I was a specimen. Not even someone she dated, just data, like she was building a file. I deleted the email, blocked it, reported the account. Then I searched her name, found an old forum buried in some medical fetish thread. Stuff I wish I hadn't read. People who obsessed over x-rays, surgical videos, detailed pain descriptions. A whole subculture around injuries. I found a username that matched her email handle. She posted before. Stories. Fiction, I hoped. All written in first person. All from the point of view of men with broken bones, concussions, bleeding noses, fevers that wouldn't break. All told in obsessive detail. I didn't report her. I didn't even know where to begin. Nothing she did was technically illegal. But I wiped my profiles, changed my email, got a new phone. I still have a scar on my wrist. Sometimes I catch myself touching it. And I wonder if she's still writing about me. It was actually a good date, which makes it worse. We met on this app called Flame, one of those newer ones that tries to act like it's less shallow, by hiding photos until after a few messages. I didn't expect anything from it. I downloaded it because I was bored one night and didn't want to re-download Hinge again. Her name was Talia. Her texts were funny, not too much slang, and she asked real questions, not just the usual "what you doing" or fake deep quotes. We messaged back and forth for about 3 days before her photo unlocked. She was pretty. Short, curly hair, thick black eyeliner, vape hoodie. Had a kind of effortless look to her. Not like she was trying to impress. She suggested we meet for bubble tea in Camden on Sunday. We hung out for a couple hours. Walked by the canal, joked about weird usernames on the app. She told me she used to be obsessed with ghost stories as a kid, and I told her about this time my cousin convinced me our shed was haunted, and I didn't go in it for 6 years. She had this soft voice and laughed without showing her teeth. Said she hated her smile. I told her it was fine, and she just looked at me like she was trying to figure out if I meant it. At the end, we hugged. She said she'd message me. She didn't. Which, whatever, costing happens. I didn't take it personally. Just deleted the chat and figured that was that. A week later, I was on Facebook, and I saw her face again. It was one of those shared posts, white background, black text, and a photo in the middle. "Rest in peace, Talia. We love you always." Same girl. Same hoodie from the profile picture. Same smile. At first, I thought it was someone else with the same name. But when I clicked it, the comments made it clear. People were tagging her, saying they couldn't believe it, saying she was gone too soon, mentioning how they'd just spoken to her a few days ago. It had been posted 4 days after our date. I scrolled through her actual Facebook profile. It was public. Her last post was the day after we met. A selfie with a filter captioned "tired but trying," then nothing. I felt sick. Not the cart broken or anything. Just weird. I just sat next to her, heard her voice, watched her blow bubbles in her drink and flick the straw paper at me. And now she was dead. I couldn't find anything official, no article or news post. Just this long stream of comments under the memorial post. A couple people mentioned an accident. One said, "I hope they catch whoever did it," which made it worse, but no one explained anything. I sat with that for a few days. Didn't talk about it. Didn't message anyone. Just kept thinking about the date and trying to remember if she seemed off. Sad, worried, anything. And one night, I re-downloaded Flame. I know how that sounds, but I wasn't trying to match. I just wanted to check. Her profile was still up. Still there, still active, not paused, not memorialized, just there. I stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I swiped. Instant match. She messaged first. "Hey you." Same profile picture. Same bio. Same stupid frog emoji in her name. I didn't know what to do. I didn't reply. I screenshotted everything and checked her Facebook again. Nothing new. More comments now. Someone had posted a drawing of her. Another had tagged her in a video from 2 years ago. I messaged the person who originally shared the memorial post. I asked if it was real. Italia had actually passed. I didn't say I went on a date with her. Just said I knew her briefly. They replied the next day. "Yeah, it's real. Sorry if I knew her. It's been hard." That was it. So now I knew for sure. But Flame didn't. Because every couple of days after that, her profile would pop up again. Always online. Always one swipe away. Out of curiosity or something else, I swiped again a week later. Matched again. Missed a lull. Same voice in my head. Soft, playful. I asked who it was. No reply. The next night, a new message. "Who healed yet?" I unmatched. Then I started noticing something else. Talia's account started showing up on other platforms. Same photo, new usernames. One account followed me on TikTok. 0 followers, just the frog emoji in the bio. And Instagram, different name. Same hoodie. The last straw was Twitter. I posted about an old movie I liked. 20 minutes later, someone replied. Talia would have hated that one lol. No context. No followers. Joined the same month. I blocked it. I thought about reporting it, but I didn't know what I'd even say. Then Fling updated their app. New layout. They added a verified activity feature for safety or something. I looked back at her profile. Still active. Location updated. Last online 3 minutes ago. I contacted support. Told them I'd matched with someone who was reportedly deceased and that her account might have been hijacked. They said they'd look into it. A week later, her profile was gone. But 2 days after that, I got a new match. No photo at first, just a message. Ever get that feeling like someone's still around? I matched without replying. I deleted the app. But sometimes I think about her sitting across from me, sipping her drink, asking about ghosts, laughing at nothing. And sometimes, late at night, I've opened my Dion's folder just to make sure no new accounts are watching. So far, they still are. We met during a weird time. One of those in-between stages where I wasn't really looking for anything serious, but also wasn't into hookups either. Just bored, I guess. I was working late nights, scrolling apps while waiting for laundry to dry, replying to matches half asleep. That's how I met Reese. Their profile was normal, not too try-hard, not too empty. A couple mirror selfies, one at a dog park. Their bio just said, "Coffee addict, part-time dog parent, up too late most nights." Seemed chill. Their messages came off friendly, not forced. There was something easy about it, like they weren't rushing to impress, which made me let my guard down quicker than usual. We talked for 2 weeks before meeting in person. Grabbed bubble tea and sat by the river, talking about random stuff like bad movie sequels and how annoying gym influencers were. Reese was funny. Not performative funny, but the kind where they laugh at themselves more than anyone else. I like that. We started seeing each other more often. They always wanted to hang out at mine or go out somewhere. Never once did they suggest I come to theirs. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I just assumed maybe they lived with parents or their place was messy or whatever. But then a couple months in, I asked straight up, half joking, why I'd never seen their place. They gave this little smile and said something like, "Trust me, you're not missing out. Our roommate's a pain and the flat's a mess." I laughed it off, but that roommate excuse came up a lot after that. Every time I brought up crashing at theirs, it was the roommate's fault. They're sick, or they got family over, or they got a big exam and need space. Always something. And the weird thing was, there were never pictures. Not on socials. Not in conversations. It was like this ghost person just existed off screen, causing all these problems but never being visible. I think I started ignoring my gut around the third month. You know when you're just comfortable with someone, and it's easier to keep things going than stop and ask the big questions. That was me. We had routines. Weekly takeout, movie nights. They'd always crash at mine and leave early for work or dog sitting. Then one day, we were at a food market, and they left their phone on the table when they went to the bathroom. It buzzed, and kept buzzing. I didn't touch it, but the screen lit up with a message. Not from a name, just a contact saved as a heart. The preview said, "Did you feed Shadow? I'm running late. Love you." My stomach dropped. Shadow was a dog from their profile, but Reese had told me they were just helping a friend with that dog, part-time, remember. They came back, picked up their phone without noticing anything weird, and I kept quiet. But that night, something started unraveling in my brain. All these little things suddenly made sense in a very gross way. Like how they never stayed past sunrise, how they never took phone calls around me, how they never posted me, even though I tagged them before, how their entire roommate story had more holes than actual details. I went home and made a fake account. New pics, new name. Swiped on the same app where we met. I filtered the settings to within 1 mile. Within 10 minutes, boom. There they were. Still active. Same profile, same dog, same captions. I swiped right. So did they. I messaged first. Within 2 hours, they were already trying to schedule a date. I stared at my screen feeling sick. It felt so fake, so dirty. I wasn't even mad yet. I was just creeped out. I scrolled through their Instagram again, this time deeper than before. Found an old tagged photo from someone else's page. A birthday dinner. Reese in the middle, sitting next to a woman with their arms locked together. Another tagged photo from the same night had a cake in the background. It said, "Happy 4 years, R plus J." I clicked on J's profile. Public. Pinned post from a year ago, Reese and Jay holding hands on a beach. Caption said, "My person. Always." That night, I messaged Reese, said I was busy for the rest of the week. They replied with a thumbs up. The next day, I went to their profile again and saw it was updated. Location changed. New prompt answer, different picture. Still swiping. Still cheating. I debated messaging the partner, but I didn't want to get in the middle of it. Instead, I unmatched them on everything. Deleted the app. Blocked their number. I thought that'd be the end of it. But a week later, I was at a coffee shop near my place. I go there all the time. It's small, kind of hidden behind a laundromat. I was grabbing a flat white when I looked up and saw them. Reese with Jay. Ordering together, laughing. Holding hands. I ducked behind the fridge like a cartoon character. Stood there staring at milk cartons until I heard the barista call their order. They walked past me. Didn't even glance. It was like I'd never existed. And in a way, I guess I didn't. Not really. I was just a side plot in someone else's story. The excuse, the app download, the little moment between dinner arguments and shared Netflix accounts. Sometimes I wonder how many other people they were seeing at the same time. How many had the same conversations, the same jokes, the same lies. That roommate line, probably said 100 times by now. Now when people talk about getting ghosted or catfished or breadcrumbed or whatever new word dating culture makes up next, I just stay quiet. None of those really fit what happened to me. Because I wasn't ghosted. I was used as a shield, a decoy. An invisible line on a dating app used to pretend someone was single while they played house somewhere else. And the worst part, I believed them. I don't usually get into this kind of stuff, but this one still messes with my head. It didn't even feel like a horror thing at first, just strange. Then it spiraled into something I still can't fully explain. I guess that's what makes it worse. So, yeah, dating apps. I was on like 3 of them. Mostly just swiping when I was bored, half looking for someone, but not really expecting anything. That's when I came across her, Lela. She was the kind of pretty that made you look twice, but still seemed real. Her pictures were chill, no filters, no weird angles, just her with her dog, one with her at some old diner booth, and another where she was laughing at something off camera. Her bio was dumb in a cute way. Something like, I'll steal your hoodies and probably your fries too. She messaged me first, which never happens, and she was funny. Like actual funny, not just emoji funny. We started chatting a lot. Morning voice notes, dumb memes during work, late night Spotify links. She always asked stuff like what I was thinking about or what weird dream I had last night. It got personal fast, but not in a clingy way. Just felt easy. And for the first time in forever, I felt like someone actually saw me. I told her stuff I hadn't even told my mates. Oh, my job's stressing me out. About this weird guilt I had over my dad. About this scar on my wrist I got when I was 10 and told people it was from skateboarding. But really, I just fell off a fence trying to spy on my neighbor's chickens. She remembered everything. She brought it up weeks later like it actually meant something. And I didn't even question it. We were talking for about a month and a half before I asked if she wanted to meet. She said yeah, but kept pushing it off. Work, migraines, a funeral. I didn't mind at first. Then I started wondering if she was real. I even joked about it once, and she sent me a selfie holding up 3 fingers and a spoon. Like proof. It worked. I chilled. Finally, she agreed to meet. Said she'd be at this Sunday market that popped up near the canal. Told me to come by around 2, and we could walk around, maybe grab food from the taco stand she always talked about. So I went. I even got there early. Nervous in this stupid way, like high school first crush nervous. I kept checking my hair and my phone camera, which I never do. I bought a drink just to have something to hold, and then I saw her. She was across the path, wearing that same green hoodie from one of her pictures, hair tied back. Same dog, even. I froze for a sec, then waved. She looked straight at me, and nothing. Blank face. Not even confusion, just no reaction. Then she turned and kept walking. I was just standing there like an idiot. I thought maybe she didn't see me. So I followed, caught up, said her name. And she looked at me again, this time annoyed, asked what I wanted. When I said her name again, she frowned and said that wasn't her name. I said Lila, from app name we've been talking for weeks. She shook her head, said she didn't even have that app. At first, I thought maybe she was messing with me, but she looked genuinely uncomfortable. She backed away, called her dog, and left, and I just stood there like something hit me in the chest. I pulled out my phone, opened the app. Our chats were gone. Completely gone. No, user unmatched. No, this profile is no longer available. Just erased like it never existed. I searched her name on Instagram. The real girl's profile came up. Same pictures, same dog, same green hoodie. But her bio said, not on any dating apps, please report impersonators. That was the first time I felt my stomach drop for real. I clicked on her tagged photos and there were hundreds. She had thousands of followers. A normal real person who posted dog pics and birthday brunches and her mom's ugly cat. I didn't even know what to do. Someone had taken her pictures, made a profile, created a whole fake person, and held full conversations with me for almost 2 months. Voice notes, inside jokes, everything. And whoever it was knew me, like actually knew me. They asked the right questions, remembered all the stuff I said, and made me feel like I was safe with them. It wasn't just a catfish. It felt more like they were studying me. Copying my language, reacting how I'd want them to react, always being available when I needed them to be. I went through everything I had saved. Screenshots, photos, even Spotify links she'd sent. Some of the playlists were private, like not public links. That meant they were made for me. But they weren't made by the real girl. I kept trying to figure out what they got out of it. It wasn't money. They never asked for anything. It wasn't photos. I never sent any. It was just time. Attention. Like they were feeding off the idea of being my perfect person. I tried reaching out to the real girl's Instagram to tell her what happened, but her DMs were off. Probably for the best. That night, I deleted the app and every other one like it. Couldn't even look at the logos without feeling sick. What stuck with me wasn't the lie. It was how real it felt. How specific. How someone knew exactly what to say to make me let my guard down. They didn't scam me for cash. They just wanted in. And they got it.